I know that you grew up in Canada, yes?
Yes, I did, yeah.
Was there a huge cheerleading culture in Canada?
There actually wasn't. And part of that is kind of why I was interested in this film, because I didn't grow up with that. In my high school, there was no cheerleading. It's a totally different kind of sports culture and sort of athlete culture in high school and college in Canada, because, you know, here in high school, all the kids' parents come to watch their games, and it's such a big community kind of thing. Like in Canada, I played basketball and other team sports, but none of our parents came to watch the games. And it's not because we're bad, like we won some provincial championship and stuff, but it's just not really like a community type of thing. You're just doing the sport, you're having fun, and you're going to play these games, but it's not like people coming out and people supporting you and cheering you on. Also in Canada, there is a football team where I'm from, Vancouver. There's BC Lions team. I don't know anyone that went to see their games. So I did not know what football was. I just didn't. So when I came to the United States, I went to USC in LA for my grad degree, and that was when Pete Carroll was the coach. And it was, you know, before their whole scandal. It was such a huge thing, and I tutored football players because I couldn't work outside the school, and I just got a taste of the ecosystem of this sport and how everybody is there to support this game, the players, the sport. And, you know, it wasn't necessarily about them going to college and getting an education. It was about them playing football. So that was really fascinating. And, you know, that's when I started watching movies about football or TV shows like Friday Night Lights, like Any Given Sunday. And it just drew me in as someone who is an outsider to this country to understand the forces of American culture. And so cheerleaders really played a huge role in that. Although I didn't grow up with cheerleading per se in my own personal experience, they're definitely outside of the U.S. like a symbol of American culture because it is so linked to football. You know, it's the female image, the female body, and the look and that spirit that really sort of represents a part of American culture, like the optimism, the energy, the enthusiasm, like the relentless pursuit of, I guess, happiness. You know what I mean? That I feel like cheerleaders really represent. And so that's something that people outside of the U.S. definitely see. And when I found out they were not even getting paid in some cases or paid less than minimum wage, it was shocking. It was heartbreaking in many ways. And that made me want to explore that and look into it and find out more about these women. What was their childhood? What was their upbringing? And what made them really pursue this fight? And sort of how will they change as they go through this?
Jane Seymour did a made-for-television movie where she played a reporter that went undercover with the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders to find out if there were any sexual allegations going on or any funny business going on. And she discovered that there wasn't. But this was a movie. And it was a movie specifically designed to bring even more attention to the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders than they were already getting. And what's interesting about it is that the title of your doc, A Woman's Work, the first thing I thought about in the first 15 minutes of the film, it basically is a play on words, and it should be a woman's worth. Because women are and were and have been devalued as human beings, no matter what lane we decide to
choose.
Yes. And now with the cheerleading culture, it's come down to whether you are a feminist or whether you are prevalent in this cheerleading culture, which a lot of them believe that cheerleading is not about you, it's about the team. Well, the team's getting paid. The organization's getting paid. You should get paid too. When you broke down the numbers throughout the organization, who was getting paid what? And I realized that the concession dudes, the concession and the mascot was getting paid more than the cheerleaders. The fact that they had that play on words about them being independent contractors. Instead of employees. So that leads me to believe that these chicks were so excited about being part of that culture that they didn't pay attention to their contract.
No, not at all. It's extremely competitive to get on these teams. There are hundreds of women try out, and they pick 40 women. That is even before you get the contract in front of you. And it's not like, oh, take it home, look at it, let us know if you have questions, you know, come back and sign it. It's like, oh my God, you made the team, this is amazing. And you're like already with women that you want to be teammates with, right? And then they give you this contract, and you're like, oh, here's the contract, okay, sign it.
Not only was I appalled by the contract situation, in Lacey's case, when Lacey discovered that she wasn't going to get paid till till the end of the year.
Yeah.
And then when they got paid, it was what, $1,250?
Yes.
For a year of traveling and spending money on nails and hair and makeup and working out at a gym. Like, really though?
Yes. Really. When I looked at her contract, which was illegal, aside from the pay aspect of it, the other clauses I wasn't sure about. You know, like, oh, you get paid at the end of the season. I didn't know necessarily you had to be paid every 2 weeks. I didn't know the arbitration clause, this needs to be arbitrated in front of Roger Goodell. Oh, that's illegal and it doesn't benefit me. As a whole, we lack the knowledge to know our rights, especially when it comes to contract work. And so that's why I think it's important with this film that we want to use it too, to educate people and just really let people know, like, this is something that we all need to be aware of. But on the other side, it's also responsibility of the employers. It shouldn't always be the responsibility of the people who are getting taken advantage of.
Absolutely.
To do what's right. It's actually, they're the ones who are writing these illegal contracts and putting in front of these women over and over again. And they did it because, they could get away with it. But that doesn't take away their legal responsibility in this case. I think that's what a lot of people think about when they hear about this. You did sign the contract, you knew what you were getting into, but that's not the end of the conversation. Maybe that's the first part, but the rest of it, and the most important part, is what these teams are doing and what tactics they use to continue to take advantage of these people.
You guys say in the film that women watching NFL games is at an all-time high. Do you think that if there were any women in a power position within the NFL, that this would even exist, or if it would change? And do you also think that the rapid onset of the Me Too Time's Up movement has really escalated this whole situation?
So that's a really great question. It's very interesting. So in Buffalo, the owners, there are two owners, and they're husband and wife. They're called the Pagulas. The wife is now the president of the team. In that case, they're the ones that fired all of the cheerleaders after this lawsuit was brought on, and basically in the media blamed these women's lawsuits for shutting down the team when it had nothing to do. The women had no say in whether the team would continue. It was the actual ownership that decided to shut down the team, which is actually like a classic union busting tactic. Oh, you guys want rights? Okay, we'll just shut you down and you can't have a job anymore. In that case, it still hasn't gotten better. And I think you can see too, this question of, is it just about placing women in places of power? Yes, I think in some cases that can really help. But at the same time, if the values, if the core structure of the organization doesn't change, it's just going to be replacing one thing with another thing that fits into the same system of values. You know what I mean? It doesn't actually change the reality of that workplace. There's a lot of ingrained misogyny within us. We all grew up in this society, this culture is very patriarchal. In so many subconscious ways or unconscious ways, we are a part of that too. And it just takes a lot of time and thought to deprogram ourselves. And from that individual to scale up to an entire organization. And the NFL, it was from the ground up, it was about men. It was about white men, and you can see the optics of that with the players. It's
absolutely.
Like black and brown bodies who are, getting out there there's an 100% injury rate for the players. The whole the CTE, concussions issue with player safety, all of that, and now it's women. And so that's why I feel like this is such a microcosm of the problems America is facing right now in the rest of society, but in some ways it's in a very more extreme fashion.
I'm glad you brought up the CTE situation, because a couple of years ago when that movie Concussion came out with Will Smith, I thought, the NFL is in trouble. They about to go down. It's going to be a wrap. And nothing happened. So you have these players who are being injured, some of them having CTE and doing crazy off-the-wall stuff, in some instances resulting in a loss of life. And then you have the cheerleading culture where the women are being treated like property as opposed to a flesh and blood human being that has value. It doesn't make it any better than the way women were valued in the 50s, where your sole job was to take care of human beings, be it your child or or your husband and cook and clean, and that's all you were. It was almost like you were a workhorse as a human being. Being a cheerleader isn't any better. Being a cheerleader in this particular instance means you're dressing up. In some instances, it almost feels like it's not any better, and I hate to say this, but it's not any better than being a prostitute, because you're basically dressing up to be pretty for men, right? And for them to go, oh, you look really wonderful, smile, believe in yourself, and everybody else will believe in you too. What a privilege, what an honor this is. It's not a privilege to be treated like crap.
No, and it's not. And it's really sad because, you know, when you hear like Lacey and Maria talk about why they want to do this and how they feel when they are, you see the possibility of this work environment, of this job, just being such a positive space. They say, okay, you betrayed the sisterhood by bringing upon this lawsuit. But what is true sisterhood? The truth of it is, like, you know, you could have that. You know, you could have real support for each other, but can also mean that you are fighting for yourself and your rights, and you're not just silencing each other. You know what I mean? It didn't actually really help them to come together that much, because there is still this culture of fear and silence, like, within that community, and the fear of disrupting the status quo, and the fear of confronting the abuse, you know, in a way. These younger women came out and said, okay, wait, this is wrong. This is basically abuse. But these other women who have done it for years and have been a part of the alumni associations for years, it's also very difficult for them to confront the fact that maybe they were also abused. Yes. It's a very hard thing to confront in yourself and admit, because then you are weak, you are vulnerable, right? And, you know, you feel like a piece of crap. One other thing I want to add is, you know, you asked about the Me Too movement and how that's affecting things. What some of the teams are now doing, whether it's NBA or NFL or even NHL, they're actually trying to desexualize the cheer squads and the dance teams and sort of circumvent or preemptively circumvent or stop any allegations of sexual harassment, or change the optics that, oh, this is, you know, a team of women and your team is run by all men, by really changing these teams and adding men into the teams, and then also making the outfits covering more skin. And while in some ways, you know, that is great, obviously, I mean, we don't want these women to be hypersexualized if they don't want to be hypersexualized. But the way the teams are going about it is basically firing a lot of these women that have been with the organization and undervalued, underpaid for so long, and telling them to go away, and then we're going to replace you with this whole other team. And this just speaks to the fact that these women do not have agency in this work, in this job at all, because they don't have that collective unity between them. They don't have a union. You know, they never had a union that was successful, that they didn't have any say in the future of this job that they all love. Now it's just up to the teams that are dictating the changes without consulting these women, without having them at the table. And that's just really sad, to be honest. And the reason they're doing it is, again, because they want to, instead of just making things right, instead of just paying these women better, treating them fairly, having a culture that is more, giving them more agency, they're just doing it in a way that's sweeping this under the rug and sidestepping some of these core issues and sidestepping the Me Too movement by saying, oh, look, it's men who are on this team too. It's not just women. And, oh, they're even not that sexy. And it's almost like blaming the victim, like, oh, you were sexually harassed. Why are you wearing such a short skirt? Like, make your skirt longer. It's a very arcane type of approach.
I hope in the future that it is able to change lives, or at least change people's opinions about what is going on, and maybe someone will see it who actually has some type of power to make a difference in this culture.
Yes, that would be amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Yugu. I appreciate you. Talk to you soon.
Okay, bye.
Bye.